This week's assignment is self-portrait, which means you're in the photograph. You are the one who presses the button to open and close the shutter. And I want you to dig a little bit deeper this week. A trend that's happening in photography is the work is becoming more personal, more emotional, and therefore more meaningful. So all of these words, I'm really trying to get you to draw out emotion from your audience. And the way to do that is to photograph yourself in a way that is emotional, that's showing emotion. And so you have to deal with personal issues. And what I mean by personal issues is things that you're going through. At every stage in our life, we go through various things. You know, our interests change just as much as maybe our friendships do, and what we find valuable in life, and what we decide we do like doing versus something we've been doing and we don't really like doing it, right? So it could also be financial. It could also be like growth. You're moving out of your family home, um, or breaking up with a boyfriend or girlfriend, losing a parent or a friend, any personal issues. I always talk about mine in class. It's a little strange since we're doing this online, but I'm going through. My father has Alzheimer's and he lives with me, and so our dynamic has changed. I don't have any children, but he is turning into a child. And so I deal every day with the stresses that come with that. So I could very easily turn that issue into a series of self-portraits. It's a very rich kind of idea. So think about some of the things you're going through or have gone through or helping a friend go through. I mean, even as kind of an outsider kind of ish, you can still kind of understand emotions and different things. And I really truly believe that in today's world, there's so much going on. The more specific you can be with this assignment, the more emotional and meaningful it will be. Okay, so I'm asking you to do a favor. The only ones who can see these images are those participating in this class, and they have all agreed not to share images outside of this class. So try something. Take a risk this week, and let's see what we can kind of come up with. Francesca Woodman was a photographer. Unfortunately, she's not with us any longer. And she often did self-portraits and other portraits of women. And I love her pieces. There's a little bit of mystery wrapped around these scenes and the actions in here. This is as if the woman has jumped out of the angel wings, right? Or maybe she's trying to jump into them, but there's something about these pieces of cloth and the symbolism that they have. And then contrary to the room, that's this old decrepit space, I love that ambiguity to the image and leaves the viewer guessing. This actually, if you think about how hard this must be to hold yourself up, basically by your fingertips, and the strength it takes for this photograph to be taken, I think this is a very powerful image. She's only got herself there. The chair is out of reach. She cannot save herself by trying to move the chair. So I think, again, this is a strong, powerful, feminist kind of issue. You can do it kind of thing. We talked about in the last assignment, wallflower. This is another version of that. The vulnerability of being naked in front of the camera, and here it's not showing anything, but it's that idea of vulnerability. And how do you work into a space? How do you fit into your environment, right? What is your role within your family or your friends? I know personally I'm very different with my family than I am with my friends. Um, I'm much more relaxed with my friends. Um, this one, another one, think about how she's kind of cowering. Her body is low to the ground. It's a defensive pose. Her dress is unzipped. Again, there's pieces of wall and roof and dirt on the floor. You know, this very dangerous kind of place. It looks it's a powerful pose. It's not one of strength that we saw in the other one. It's coming from a powerlessness kind of feeling to it. This one I can't decide if she's climbing into the room or out of the room. Again, that ambiguity is kind of really nice. This could be a safe place for her, or she could be trying to get somewhere safe. The environment here is just as important as she is, right? In this narrative that's being created. You know, just what a beautiful image. Again, it's on the edge of being very dark. And I think it is, but there's something about putting yourself in a position like this that maybe that's where the power comes. And I just have to say the lighting is just absolutely beautiful as well. Now, Ben Zandt is someone I've recently become aware of, and he's doing the same thing Francesca Woodman did, but kind of in a more modern way. Francesca was working in the 70s and 80s, and Ben Zandt is working like right now. But his ideas have to do with his place in the world, how he's struggling with things, and I think it's very interesting. You know, this is man versus nature. This is him with obstacles. How is he going to get through to see what's beyond this greenery? And the struggle is real, you know. This one I just love too, with the motion. He's completely still, but the grasses are waving like it's on fire, mad, and he is the one still thing. So is this how he feels? You know, does he feel like he's inside of himself when the world is going crazy around him? You know, it's a simple, you know, kind of thing, but it's really a complex question. You know, the way he photographed himself is not that complicated, but the innuendo, the allegorical metaphors that you can come from this is just amazing. Is he getting baptized? Is he committing suicide? Is he trying to get to the other side? All of those things kind of come to my mind, and I like the answer to all of them. What an interesting composition. What an interesting idea, right? Again, the suit. What does that mean? You know, what does that symbolize? He's obviously not there to, you know, to relax. Otherwise, he'd have a swimsuit on, or, you know, something more comfortable. Love this. Now, most of your digital cameras are going to have a digital remote. Sometimes when you buy it, you can also order them online. But you can also download an application to put on your phone that will activate the trigger of the camera. You can also put it on like a timer, a self timer. You all have that in your shooting modes. That's where you dictate if you're taking one picture or multiples, and you'll see like a weird looking clock. Those are the self timer. Christian Hopkins suffers from bipolar, and he was an artist to begin with, and you know, it made sense for his therapist to try to work out some of the issues in his artwork. I mean, art can be the best therapy ever. Just like we journal or write in our diary when we're pissed off, you know, think about how we can interpret different feelings through our imagery and what we're trying to say. You know, I just think beautiful, beautiful image. And he is using Photoshop, of course. And some are a little overly dramatic, but I think this one in particular, I just love this bird's nest he's made out of this huge papasan chair, right? This fetal position. I mean, that is very vulnerable, right? This makes me feel, it looks like a horror story, but I love that he's cloned out his feet or anything underneath the sheet. So it does have a very kind of ghost-like. And it was cloned. There's, some cloning going on here, definitely. Why not? Why not? This is boxed in by Amy Yates, and she's just simply had a space where she put her body in different poses. I think that exude different meanings. Some are scared, some are powerful, some are sensual. We are many things, right? So how can you maybe interpret this and do something with this? You can include text if you want. Here's the thing about mixing text with imagery, is my philosophy about it. They should both be important. One, the image can't outweigh the text can't outweigh the image. Okay, so you have to kind of balance the two. This person just found out she was cancer free. So she went out with a beautiful piece of lace. It was very windy, and she just kind of played with this piece of lace until she got various images, and whoops, and there she's kind of disappearing. Long exposure with some movement here, screaming, very little movement, just his head. This is not as great composition, but it's a, happy face, sad face. I would definitely crop it differently. Yeah, I hope she didn't hurt herself doing this. But again, very expressive. You can, kind of, if you have access to costume, or people who have access to costumes, use them. Why not? If it helps your creativity, go for it. I do like this image. There's, again, I guess I'm interested in some images for this when we're not told all the answers all the time, but we're given ideas of it, and then we can make up our own kind of story. The way to kind of garner enthusiasm and emotion from your image is to try to be very specific. Okay, and people will make their own connections. They'll either be right with you, or they might be kind of along the same lines but not exactly right, but still they're engaged in what you're trying to express, right? So think about the poses that you want to be in. Are you going to be strong, or are you going to be more in on yourself in a more vulnerable pose? Now this, again, it's getting kind of raw, but if you cut or have cut, or people that have, it's a real issue, and I think this is right. Don't judge anybody for what they go through. I think that's a really kind of interesting idea. Also, this is like plastic wrap. Please don't hurt yourself. You must be able to breathe in the photograph, so be careful about that. I'm very serious about that. Dry ice can change the mood of anything. This was kind of an interesting idea. Now, these are not self-portraits, but I like this idea. A camera was set up above these people's bed, and every once in a while the camera went off, and it took several pictures as they move around the bed. The couples move around the bed. Some move more than others. Yeah. Now, and I didn't want you to think you have to deal with a subject that's all dark. Here you can certainly see like the quality of light, what's happening with the papers. That's all kind of bringing happiness and joy. What a quiet, beautiful picture. Again, look at the colors, how saturated they are, not saturated. That can control the feeling. Okay, we know how we can manipulate that. You can do color or you can do black and white. It's really up to you. So as you're thinking about how to photograph yourself, I am going to ask you, I'm going to post some questions, or actually they're already in the assignments. Go through that, do some brainstorming. I think what encouraged me to do this project was a student who did a very, very personal self-portrait. And I think that's where it's at right now. I think we have to be able to relate to others. And I think we can do that visually. So I'm very excited to see what you can do. I'm asking you to take a risk. I think it'll be worth it in the end. All right, good luck this week.